What's something a poor kid would understand, but would utterly confuse a rich kid? Waiting around in a laundromat. Watching the rest of the class go on class trips or vacations while you stay home and/or work. Every time you get a little bit ahead, an extra $100 or so, and being able to relax and breathe a bit, next day something goes catastrophically wrong with the car, or an appliance, or an unexpected late charge on something you forgot about. It never ends, one step forward, two steps back. Having sleep for dinner. The guilt versus gratitude relationship fight you have when your friends share their food with you, because on one hand you never have enough money to buy enough food to be fully sated, so that extra from your friends is awesome, but on the other hand you understand how awful it is not to have enough food at lunch, and you don't want to put your friends in that position. New means different, not unused. When you're getting new clothes, they are used from family or a thrift store. Going to the library to use the internet. Paying bills before the age of 18. Buying food, not for taste or preference, but for the price point and how filling it is. My entire identity revolves around food. I use my spare, fun money on food now. I give gifts of food, I take friends out to eat, I give people their fav snacks and candy bars as little surprises. We never had enough as a kid, we went hungry every darn day, and now, I express myself through food. I'll bring friends dinner, I'll bake people's favorites, I'll bring my coworkers entire casseroles, I'll take huge pots of soup to our neighbors. I'm getting emotional right now, just thinking about how important the availability of food is to me. I have an 18-year-old coworker that doesn't eat lunch during break, for our 12-hour shift. So I started packing twice as much and I feed her the extra I bring. I just want all my friends and family to be full, to never have to feel hunger like my family did. Like I did. I don't want that for them. Sugar sandwiches for dinner. Butter, sugar and bread. We thought it was like dessert for dinner, but my mom told us recently it was because we didn't have any food. White bread toasted with butter and garlic powder equals poor man's garlic bread. I remember when we would go shopping for school clothes, it was at Walmart or Kmart and it was always the sale items and one size up so we could grow into it. Being really young and getting excited about the power cut, lighting candles etc. when really it was because we couldn't afford electricity. Milk was in the pantry, Carnation instant. You get to eat the leftovers which the guest didn't eat, as your parents make the best items for your guests at it. It's not about eating leftovers but you get to eat food which your parents normally don't give it to you. No brand name snacks being shared. Back in high school, I was getting flamed for having cheap shoes from Marshalls. Here's something along the lines of how it went. Kid, those shoes are ugly as fluff. Me, I agree, I gotta wait for my next paycheck so you can grab some new ones. Kid, why don't you just ask your parents buy you shoes? Me, because they gotta put money in more important places right now. Kid, wait, so your parents don't buy you new shoes? Me, nah, I gotta save up. Kid, look of extreme confusion. The confusion of the kid when he realized that most parents don't buy their kids everything they want was something I won't forget. In typical high school fashion, he then proceeded to tease me for being broke, also explaining to others that the only time I left my home state was for family emergencies was something that they couldn't grasp either. The large pillows full of cheap cereal at the grocery store. They always put them way up on the top shelf too so as not to offend the more expensive General Mills, Kellogg's, Post cereals. How bad it feels when a non-poor kid, even up to adulthood, mentions doing something expensive casually or worse, makes a big deal about you never doing it. Like, 1. Flying 2, going to another country 3, going to Disney World 4, going to a hibachi restaurant or fancy steakhouse 5, doing camps, programs that cost money at school or during the summer. You've never seems so confusing to them that it's true and never crosses their mind you might feel self-conscious about it. Hint, everyone does. Edit, since this got traction, I'd like to add sleeping on the floor and or without a real blanket, not by choice. Knowing how to sew as a necessity. Fried bologna, cause we eatin' fancy. Putting water in shampoo bottles to make it last longer. I was a poor kid who was lucky enough to go to a good high school. The downside of that was growing up next to entitled brats. I've seen a girl throw her brand new gold iPhone across the room and not bat an eye because her parents would buy her a new one. Sure enough, the next time I saw her she had one. These are the same kids that crash the new cars they get for their birthdays, get manicures, facials, and eyelash every week despite never working a day in their lives. On the other side, I was scared when I ripped the strap off the backpack I had been using for 4 years. I sewed the darn thing up because I didn't want to stress my mom out with having to find a new one for me. I used it for 2 more years through college until it finally kicked the bucket and I was able to get a new one. Getting upset when clothes, shoes, or other basic items are ruined. If I had a hole in my shoe or a stain or tear on my clothes, I had to live with it, at least for a while. I knew kids in the middle and upper classes that would get chewed out for stuff like that, but their parents would usually buy them new stuff right away. That wasn't the case for a lot of kids like me because it just wasn't possible. Most of the clothes I owned were hand-me-downs to begin with, some of it was found in the garbage. Our parents borrowing birthday money to help with bills or buying food and toiletries, love them to death. They've always worked hard for me and my sister. Oh, and not having health insurance. That cable and Wi-Fi are a luxury. That going to the nearest beach is a vacation did. Wow, this blew up. Let me clear some things out. I live in Greece, so going to a hotel next to the beach is called a small vacation by some people. Now, I'm not poor, not wealthy. My family makes more than what my friends do, but our priorities usually end up costing us our vacations. Santa Claus have a budget. Relaxing in an empty parking lot as your friend's car is a typical night out because nobody has anything at home and don't want to be there anyways because it's too stressful. You can't just live within your means. The actual process of looking at something in a store and debating whether or not it's really something they need or is it something they want before trying to see if they can find a cheaper version. Back where I am from, we still have to heat up bathwater on the stove in that neck of the woods. Every term our school would do a thing called Scholastic Books. It's like a catalog of books and other educational things that parents can go through, put what they think their child will like and order them. The school gets a percentage of the sales and the kids get an education-filled Christmas unboxing every term. Almost every kid in my class would get at least one thing, expect me, so, just sitting in the back of class watching other kids showing off their new stuff to each other. One year a kid left before the order came in and the teacher gave his book to me. Rich kids will never know the feeling of being poor, having it noticed and not being shamed for it. It was the only time I ever got a book from Scholastic and I still have it. Side note, I'm all grown up and am not super poor. Every term my mom and I pick a class at the local primary school and buy books for every student that doesn't have a book order in that classroom. It's a mixed school, half rich people and half poor people living in a trailer park struggling to get by. Edit, spelling. Doing without. Most rich kids have never had to contemplate what it is like being without food or living in a cockroach-infested unsafe hellhole before. Coming to school stinking because your parents couldn't pay utilities that month as if you chose to be gross. Most kids, make sure to save your allowance. Poor kid, rich kid, what's that? Seldom or never travel abroad. Never going to the dentist before. You have to get creative for entertainment. Rarely had toys and friends definitely couldn't come over. Sugar rice was very common, so was garbage on a shingle. White gravy with meat on white bread was at least once a week. Parents constantly busy with work and side jobs and being exhausted all the darn time. Hand-me-downs were new clothes. Sharing a room with multiple family members, having to do chores without getting money or a reward, always getting consoles and games like 2 to 5 years after they released and everyone was onto new garbage. Bruh, there's a lot. That game where you hunt for change down the back of the sofa so your mom can buy cigarettes. Struggle meals. Love my mom, no matter how hard times got she always found a way to whip something up in the kitchen. My fave was fried tortillas with refried beans, sometimes with cheese. Coming home to the gas, light or water shut off. That shame when your parents have to tell the cashier to take items off because they didn't have enough water in the shampoo, detergent. Collecting all the change in the house to cash in at the local grocery store. Knowing your mom's social security number by heart. At 12 BC you had to call to set up payment arrangements for the utilities while she worked evenings. School lunch shaming. For example, indebted Rhode Island kids must eat the sun P and B of shame. We couldn't afford cable growing up, so ergo, I didn't see a lot of movies. And #X200B, I oft get ridiculed as a 35-year-old for not seeing them. Mighty Ducks, Sandlot, Goonies, Back to the Future, Ghostbusters all come to mind off the top of my head, and I always get the "how have you never seen these?" and now it's at a point where I don't have too much of a desire to see a kids movie for the first time from 20+ years ago. Not really complaining because my mom did a lot to keep my childhood together, but most of my friends don't understand that not having cable cut off access to a lot of the references they remember so fondly. The value of $1. Bread for hot dog buns. What it is like to eat spaghetti for over a year and a half straight, other than my birthday. That is exactly what I've done and am doing. I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Sorry I had to have a moment, stressed myself out.